Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. For today's video, we got a video by Austin Sweat titled The All-Time Worst NBA Draft Day Comparisons. These are always really fun to watch just because, like, sometimes you just see some absolutely ridiculous ones. Now, it's kind of like, you can see it from two ways. Sometimes a player is compared to a superstar because they think they're going to reach that level of potential. And then sometimes a player is compared to a player because that's just the type of, like, style of play they play out there, right, man? So, yeah, it should be interesting. But, of course, guys, before we get going on this video, guys, I am so close to 100K subscribers. If you're one of those 54% of people that watch my videos that are now subscribed, if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, would be greatly, greatly appreciated. All right, as Flight Rex would say, let's check it out. Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it, man. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Okay.
We looked at the worst draft day comparisons.
Let's just watch the video. Okay, let's just watch the
demo. Some of the worst comparisons of all time. We can't go too far back though, because the draft day comparisons didn't really start until the year 2000. But even starting just back then, you're gonna see it's given us some pretty terrible ones. So for this video,
I bet
the older all-time ones mixed in with a couple of newer, more recent ones I found. And we're also gonna try to not mention any that we already talked about in the other video. So if you don't see one you might have been expecting, watch the other video. That's the first link in the description first, and you'll probably see it there. Also, make sure you stay tuned all the way until the end for the absolute worst draft day comparison of all.
Alright, let's get it, man. Let's get it.
Is that for most of these, we're using the comparisons from NBADraft.net, and the first player we're looking at is Kwame Brown.
Who
was known as the biggest bust in NBA
bonafide scrub
before Anthony Bennett, because he went first overall straight out of high school and got enough hype for that to happen because he was 6'11" and 275 pounds.
Darko is still a worse of a bust because Kwame Brown, while he definitely wasn't as good as people thought he was going to be, obviously, he had like some decent moments. Decent.
And his size and athleticism at such a young age was what impressed scouts so much. And combine that with his ability to hit mid-range shots, convinced a lot of people that he was a first overall.
It's like a taller Kyle Lowry, minus the jump shot.
Well, NBADraft.net had him compared to Kevin Garnett, which was
the big ticket. That's a big bitch ass, man. Kwame Brown.
That was going around from some of the other scouts, because many other scouts compared Kwame to Karl Malone and Chris Webber.
Damn.
To his NBA-sized frame. And not only that, but they said he played like a guard in a center's body.
Yo, there's the Kyle Lowry comparison.
Very well and even lead the fast break. So they were saying we had someone the size of Karl Malone that played like a guard. And this is without a doubt one of the worst comparisons of all time, but trust me, it gets worse. And staying on the theme of NBA draft busts, there's Darko Milicic.
Yes, sir, let's get it.
Who had nearly every scout fooled into thinking he was the next Dirk Nowitzki, because he was drafted at a time when overseas players were the big thing, and even to this day, but especially back then, scouts wouldn't do.
I like his form, not gonna lie, man.
Overseas players, but if they were tall, foreign, and had a jump shot, then chances were they were compared to Dirk at one point or another. But not only was he compared to Dirk, he was said to have been a better version of him. He could post up and score with both hands, stretched the floor to mid-range in three, and had incredible shot blocking ability. And not only did that lead to him going second overall, when he probably should have gone late in the second round if anything, but it infamously led to him being picked one spot behind LeBron James and ahead of Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, and Dwyane Wade, without a doubt making this one of the
we still got championship
of all time. So it was clear that scouts didn't do their research on Darko, because he only averaged 6 points and 4 rebounds a game in his 10-year career. Looking at a more recent comparison though, in 2015, Emmanuel Mudiay.
Oh, so he was compared to Dirk. Okay, he was compared to Dirk. Yikes.
NBA comparison,
a better version.
NBADraft.net was John Wall, because he was said to have been a rare combination of size, speed,
hey, Mudiay can still get there. I believe in him.
Vision and mentality of a point guard. And scouts said that he was a true pass-first kind of point guard.
He can still get there.
A great finisher at the rim, but basically all of the strengths in his report were based on his athleticism, and all of his weaknesses were based on how he actually played the game, which makes it clear that he probably should have never been compared to John Wall in the first place. And seeing how he's played since being in the league makes it clear that he really shouldn't have. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's a bad player, because he's a great athlete and makes for a solid backup point guard for any team, but they should have found a better comparison for him than to one of the best overall point guards in the league at the time. Then we have Giannis, and NBADraft.net
this
had
one's
his
bad
comparison as Nicholas Batum. Alright, we'll be fair with this one. At the time that Giannis was going into the draft, it was 2013, and when the comparison took place was when Nick was still a pretty solid two-way player.
But even with that though, like Nicholas Batum, I remember him on the Portland Trail Blazers. He was always like a corner three-point shooter and stuff like that. I mean, hit like the mid-range shots. Like, even style-wise, that's just not Giannis's game. That's just not his game at all. So even like that type of comparison didn't even make sense.
The playoff Blazers team, so we'll give him that. Plus, at the time, Giannis wasn't a great player anywhere near where he's at today, and seeing him back then, you could see how they would have made this comparison. But this is an all-time worst draft day comparison still, because it's not scouts' jobs to make projections based on where players are currently at.
Batum was nice though, not gonna lie. He was.
It's their job to get insight on a player, who they are, and make the most accurate prediction of the player that they will become. Because the whole point of drafting a player is for their future. And seeing how Giannis has turned out, they did a pretty terrible job. Don't get me wrong, not many people saw this coming from Giannis, but given that it's scouts' jobs to do so, we're allowed to knock him for it. One that's not up for debate is Eddie Curry.
Eddie Curry.
2001 was compared to
Damn, man. Just because he was a fat ass, bro. That's the only reason, man. Ain't nothing else about this game. But you see that 300-pound man right there, you're like, oh, that's Shaquille O'Neal. That's you more Big Baby Davis.
Unanimous top
maybe a taller
10 player
version.
Of all
I guess he would be taller,
the most dominant force in NBA history was used to describe Eddie Curry. And in his draft report, one line even says he has more strengths and polish than Shaq at
Hell no.
age, and does not have the Achilles free throw curse that himself and Wilt Chamberlain had. And he was drafted 4th overall the same year as Kwame Brown, which just starts to make this look like a whack draft. Honestly though, Eddie got those comparisons almost solely for his wide frame and being able to still play while being 7
He was on the Knicks, right?
300 pounds,
believe.
while also showing some ability to fight through double and triple teams. But I mean, is that really all it takes to get compared to Shaq? He had a solid 11
Gotta be a thick boy.
averaging 12 and 5. So even though he struggled with his weight, he wasn't a terrible player, but honestly the Shaq comparisons were a little much. And I guess so were Michael Beasley's comparisons to Carmelo Anthony.
Hey, that's actually not too far off. Michael Beasley could have been that type of player if he would have just tried harder. Michael Beasley had all the offensive skill in the world, and defensively wasn't that great, but neither was Carmelo Anthony. But Michael Beasley, for him, it was simply drive. Like, this guy had it. He just didn't want it, you know?
At the time, I get it. It made sense. Michael Beasley dominated in high school, averaging 28 and 16 as a senior, then averaged 26 and 12.
He was fun to watch in college.
On 53% from the field and 38% from 3, in what was one of the better college seasons of all time. And the Melo comparisons were there. He could shoot mid-range, from 3, post up, and on top of that was a great all-around athlete.
He made it to the championship game, didn't he?
Discussions to go 1st overall over Derrick Rose, but ultimately went 2nd to the Miami Heat in 2008. And I mean, on the court, scouts had it right. He really did have what it took to be a superstar level player.
Yep.
But it was everything off the court that really derailed his NBA.
Can't really scout that though, you know?
Scouts didn't manage to see back then that would be the biggest factor in ruining his career. So I mean, honestly, this one's not a terrible comparison, but in the long term, he didn't turn out to be the player he was expected to. Then there's Alexis Ajinca, and this is a guy you
that name sounds familiar.
Remember from his brief run on the Timberwolves in 2012 and 13.
I remember in 2K he had a really large set of hair. Like they had this man all wrong in 2K.
I mean, if you don't remember him, it's
like an afro.
There was nothing memorable about him, except for the fact that before joining the NBA, he was claimed to be a 6'7" natural point guard whose NBA comparison was
damn, man.
Scouts said that in Russia he was an explosive scorer and playmaker like Penny Hardaway and could play on both ends.
So you got the athleticism?
He rarely ever played point guard while in the league, and only lasted 3 seasons overall, averaging 7 points, 2 assists, and started 25 total games in his career.
See, I was gonna make a joke being like, well, he ain't even. Well, I guess I got a joke. I was gonna say he ain't even a Penny Hardaway. Like he ain't even a penny, but that's a bad joke. So we're gonna continue the video. And just ignore everything I said right there.
Comparing him to Penny Hardaway for what just seemed to have been his size seems pretty unnecessary looking back.
If it was dollar Hardaway, I would have called him Penny Hardaway. That would have been funny.
Here we have
Adam
Morrison. Now, knowing that Adam Morrison would get
is euros worth $1,
then turn into one of the biggest busts we've ever seen, and looking back and remembering that his draft day comparison was Larry Bird is one of the most incredible scouting errors ever. But it's also a reminder
that scruffy ass mop on his head
translates to the NBA, because while scouts definitely had that part wrong in college, I mean, a Larry Bird comparison was really believable. He was averaging 28 a game as a senior.
He never showered.
3% from 3, and while he wasn't athletic, he knew how to maneuver and score with ease. But once Michael Jordan selected him on the Bobcats, it was all downhill from there. He was the 3rd overall pick and only played 2 seasons on the Bobcats and 2 seasons on the Lakers.
He looks tired.
2 championships, being a complete meme for his participation or lack thereof on those teams. A more current terrible draft day comparison though goes to Trey Burke, because he was said to have resembled a cross
Man, I'm about to skip this part of the video. And be no Trey Burke slander here, man. This man took over Michigan, bro. Man took over Michigan, man. He has some good moments in the NBA too, but yeah.
Kyle Lowry and Kemba Walker.
Hey, he can still be that.
Reminiscent of Damian Lillard.
He can still be that.
A better grip on passing in the pick and roll than Kemba Walker. And I mean, I haven't seen that much at all from him. Fans have wanted to compare him to Allen Iverson because he came out looking like his twin a couple of seasons ago, but their games aren't really that similar. They both have a good crossover and a street ball kind of feel, but the comparisons stop there because of how much more athletic AI.
This man's gonna come to Detroit Pistons to lead us to a championship.
Comparison comes in because he's also a much better athlete, drives to the basket a lot more often, and while they do both have solid mid-range games, that's also not enough for a comparison.
Pistons need to bring Trey Burke in, get Nick Stauskas. I'll take Matt Costello. He was at Michigan State at the time. Yeah, that's about all we need. I guess we'll take Harris LeVert, but he always was injured on Michigan.
As for the Kyle Lowry and Kemba
Yo,
Walker
Spike Ulbrich.
I mean, I could see his playstyle matching with both Kemba and Kyle's, but he plays nowhere near the level that they do. Then for Dwyane Wade, there's no bad comparison here, but what scouts said about him before the draft was at least worth mentioning during this video.
He was a point guard.
They said that he should be taken 11th or 12th overall in 2003, and that he should be converted to a point guard when joining the NBA, because at 6'3", he was way too short for a shooting guard, and on top of that, they even thought he was much shorter than the 6'3" that Marquette had listed him. So they said that he could one day be a starter on a team and that his ceiling was Gilbert Arenas. I mean, at this point, what are...
Not actually a bad ceiling. Gilbert Arenas was a very underrated player, but D-Wade played nothing like that.
What's even for?
Nothing like that.
What's the point of them if it's just a 50-50 on if they get things right or not? And a perfect example of that is for the worst comparison of the video and the worst NBA draft day comparison of all time with Deshaun Stevenson, who takes this one...
Yo! Can't see me!
Michael Jordan.
There he is.
Won't even know who Deshaun is, which I mean is even more of a reason for this to be.
Hell no, man. Me in gym class, every single time I hit a 3 layup, anything, bro, I was doing the Deshaun Stevenson. Man, it was that was my guy in the Washington Wizards. I love that team. Crown Butler, Antoine Jameson, of course, Gilbert Arenas.
Claim. I mean, to
that was my team, man.
Never averaged over 11 points a game, was a role player for most of his career, and obviously never came close to living up to the hype.
Brendan Haywood
even tried to defend their claim in 2015 after their scouting report went viral by saying, "Lesson learned: never compare anyone to Michael Jordan." This was in the year 2000.
It was Michael B. Jordan. Maybe he was a good actor.
But go watch a tape of Stevenson in high school. He was incredible. One of the most spectacular 17-year-old wings you could ever see. But not going to college had a catastrophic effect on him. And I mean, it's true, he did skip out on college and go straight out of high school after his grades came into question. But hold on there. So they didn't compare a college kid to MJ. They compared a 17-year-old
I'm gonna start addressing him like that
to him, which makes matters even worse. And they didn't blame a bad scouting report on themselves. They blamed it on him skipping college. So that's a big L for them. But luckily, we have a very poorly recorded version of Deshaun Stevenson's aforementioned high school mixtape to review. And honestly, as you can see, there's some impressive athleticism here, but I mean, really nothing too crazy. So this will probably forever be the worst draft day comparison. And
hey, Michael Jordan, though, he got cut, his rookie or his freshman year of high school. So I guess he was doing impressive stuff in high school either, though, straight up, man. But now, guys, at the end of the video right here, yeah, I would say these were pretty much all garbage, which is why they're in the video. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Check out Austin Sweat, link to his channel in the description below. Peace out, my friends.